Welcome back to the Magma Classroom. This episode, we're continuing our stylized character design education journey. That's a mouthful. With professional designer and educator Udi Kalmanovitz. Over the past few episodes, Udi has been deep diving in simplifying the major aspects of a stylized character design. This episode, Udi will be combining all of these techniques and approaching in one focused lecture. This episode will be packed with precious creative gems, so stick around, join the art space in the description, and click the Canvas invite link to jump in and receive feedback from Udi during our session. So get your pens ready, and we'll see you in the Canvas. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Magma Classroom. If you're just catching up on this episode and we're following along with this, we had a few technical issues. Apologies on our side. Just had to configure a new stream link. Want to welcome back Udi Kalmanovitz again. Thanks, Udi, for joining us. We know we talked about doing a lot this week. It's been another 2 weeks now since our last session. How's everything been going, and what are you thinking about doing this week?
Everything is doing great. Thank you. And it's great to be here. Actually, today I thought I was just create a concept for an entirely made up new character. I played around with different ideas. I don't have something totally figured out, so I'll probably try to reveal it as I go along.
That sounds great. I know the last couple of weeks we've been focusing on head design. As the introduction sort of highlighted, I want to mention we did kind of discuss changing the format a little bit today. So the introduction didn't quite fully cover, I think, what you're looking at doing. But I love this idea of kind of free flowing and experimenting. For anybody who's watching or jumping in, or if you're just watching this after the fact, we are going to have canvases you'll see below. On Udi's screen, we have participant canvases. We're going to actually probably start, let's create a few more of those as well. So the goal is that you can start jumping in and following along. And even if you're watching this after this live session has completed, this canvas, these additional canvases will be available. So this is something that you can very much jump in and follow along in the video and do, even though it's not happening live. So yeah, Udi, go ahead, take it away. I'm going to get all the other people that were following the last stream. I'm going to get everybody set up.
Sure. So tell me, how do I hide this background?
Oh yeah, let me get rid of that. Am I not admin? Okay, there we go.
Yeah, excellent. Thanks.
Yep.
So I played around with an idea in my head, I will share with you. Every year, I'm doing a new Popeye design. So Popeye is an old, probably everybody knows Popeye, but it's a pretty old cartoon character. And you know what? I discuss a lot with my students, where you're starting to talk about character design, and you start looking for reference. Character design as its own subject really doesn't exist that long. If you go 60 years ago, there were no institutions teaching character design. So basically, the more you go back, characters are kind of more scattered in a way, and less you kind of less see different templates, or you can learn about different rules maybe in character design, which you'll see less and less the more you go back. And sometimes I like taking old cartoon characters and try to give them a new version in a way. So yeah, basically what I will do, I will just sketch different ideas. I will start sketching very, very raw ideas, trying to get an interesting proportion and shapes, which I will like. Then I will pick the one I like better than the options I will create, and we'll see how far can I get with it. So I had like this idea of this sort of gesture. So basically, I'm just like trying to put down different shapes, trying to get like the overall feeling that I'm looking for. Mm.
How about a little music? Yeah.
Yeah, always a good, always. So usually, usually when I'm sketching, uh, I don't use the eraser too much, but unless if there's something that kind of interfering with me thinking, seeing things.
So when you do stuff like this, do you put together mood boards? Do you get reference, or do you kind of just flow?
No, no. Actually, what I do, like, there is like two kind of ways I use like references, but most of the time I'm not creating a mood board. I'm like, I will look at stuff and like I will just like observe different art and different relevant stuff to kind of like fill my mind with new information and ideas, and then I will just flow. I don't like to actually work while looking at things. It feels like for me it kind of breaks my my concentration and like my creativity in a way. um, but sometimes if I require to do something that is very specific and I need like the information, like to see, like let's say I'm creating a soldier from a certain place and a certain time, and I want to see how their uniform looked like, how their weaponry looked like. So then it's more like a study. I will look at reference to actually study it. um, so it's different. But if I'm trying to come up with like something new, I usually will kind of like look at different things to get like inspired, and but probably won't use it as in like actual mood board or something. I
Right,
don't know.
right.
So I will share like my thought, and like I know I talked about Popeye, and I'm kind of creating like this very big kind of monstrous gestures and build. But what I had in mind is to actually create a Popeye which will also be a vampire. I'm thinking like how Popeye will look if he was a vampire.
That's
So
great.
so that will make it like a little bit more interesting for me. Let's create another one which will be a little bit more frontal. Mm, but I kind of imagine him like hunched over in a way.
Would it be? Is it too disruptive to turn on the sequence panel so we can let people know if they can jump in here and
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
sketch?
sure, no problem. Here we go. Hmm, don't like this one. Let's do these two.
If you guys are listening to the stream, um, we have canvases below, participants 1 through 5, and we can add more, which I'll go ahead and do. Feel free to take over any canvas. Let us know if you have issues.
So different pieces are. think I will create one more, and maybe then I will try to pick one I like better and kind of like I will actually try to exaggerate the proportion even more.
I was just looking at comments here. Okay, looks like Aiku jumped in here and took care of that. If anybody was blaze locked, we should be up to date now. If you refresh, everybody should have blaze.
Kind of like this one. Want to look at all the rest side by side and then probably make a decision. So usually what I do is once like I have like a quick like loose drawing or loose gesture that I like, I try to refine it just a little bit. And after I refine it, still without adding any details, I duplicate it several times and then I play around with different ideas on top of the same sketch. So right now, I will just try to kind of like refine it just a little bit. Already starting like paying attention to the shapes I want to use. Like I can already see that probably the hands will be kind of tricky in the angle I'm trying to imagine. Okay, so I kinda like this one, and what I will do, I will merge it down to the previous sketch, and I will actually duplicate it like a couple more times, uh, and try to play around with different ideas. Let's start with these two. So basically, what I do is I take down the opacity and try to figure out like what I want to do, like with the different details, with clothing and different stuff. Um, I already kind of have something like that I imagine, but obviously until I try it. So right now I'm thinking that I want to have like this like protruding chin jaw thing going on, but also give his face like more angular attributes, and maybe instead of like the closed eye, thinking maybe to give him an eye patch or something. So probably something like that. And I will probably have, so I'm imagining like this old sailor hat, like not like the something like that.
This makes me think we could do if you could get a generator of sorts where you could put all kinds of character names and like Price is Right, like spin the wheel and you get two random themes that you have to mash up together on the spot.
That will actually like can be extremely fun. So like Popeye usually has like his like collar like thrown like that, and I'm thinking maybe if we lift it up in a way like that, so it will give him more like this vampire look. And if I remember correctly, he has like this rolled sleeves. So like what's going on inside my mind right now is like, okay, I gave him like more of the regular clothes that are familiar to the character, and I'm trying to think like if I want to play around with it a little bit and make some more dynamic and noticeable changes to the character. Like Is it just like Popeye turned into a vampire, or is like this vampire captain of the ship or something, which is like more like he had the time to like acclimate into the role of being a vampire. So maybe we try here something that is like more extreme. So I'm going on a little bit like smaller nose, and I want to make also like the proportion of the face a little bit more exaggerated. We will make his eye patch fairly small. I really want like his teeth to be evident, and I like the small head. I will actually make it smaller. But I'm thinking really, really like exaggerating. So let's say if like I'm taking the regular Popeye short, but I'm thinking like how do I make it like look more like something vampire-y? So maybe I will have like the buttons going all the way down, like it's a buttoned up short, short, and I would probably even think about like consider adding some kind of a pattern to it. And what if I will actually like add try it on a different layer, but I'm thinking on adding a small vest. So it will probably be like so. Hmm. Okay, so I kind of play around a little bit and did some nonsense, but I think I will actually go like with the simpler original idea of just making him a little bit nuts.
He's just turned into a vampire in this case then.
It's just turned. It's
Yeah.
like it's his first day.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, so basically, right now, what I will do is I will actually refine the sketch one more time, um, just to make everything like feel more readable and more clear. And thinking about more like on the final line art that I would want to have. Now, usually, like in this stage, I'm not jumping right away to actually finalizing. I'm kind of like flipping back and forth and trying to skew a few things and like try to work on it a little bit more and refine also the shape and the stance and kind of like spend a little bit more time with it. So most of the time, anyways. Let's flip it a little bit and see if something like really jumps out. Like right now, when it's flipped, I kind of feel like maybe I want this arm to actually be hidden. Like I want it to come from here or here. Hmm, this one works well. So I kind of like this one, which actually it's hidden like back. I feel like it works better. And also I feel like right now I can take this leg here and skew this shin a little bit. So like if someone is wondering and if you haven't like if you never try to flip like your drawing, basically what it does, it like kind of give you like a fresh look on what you're doing. And like while you're drawing, your eye usually gets like accustomed to what you're seeing, and then it's kind of hard to make decisions and fix things. And when you're flipping your drawing, and it's like you get a glimpse of it like for the first time, which sometimes can actually make you see things you missed and make a few refinements. So I think I like this one better with the arm like hidden. And I probably, let's duplicate it one more time. I want to try to actually open like this arm a little bit. So another thing that sometimes I do is like if I erase something and I want to fix it, I try not to erase it completely. Like I feel like if you erase something completely, then the chances that you will repeat and do the same thing twice and basically make the same mistake is is higher. And if I'm not erasing like completely what I'm doing, then I can see what I want to change and where I want like things to move. So like I feel like I want like a more open hand gesture like that or something, and it will have like vampire nails. So I feel like this is way better. And let's flip it one more time. Maybe I would want to like move it a little bit, skew it a little bit.
I know this from spending more time sculpting than drawing, but I feel the idea of flipping the canvas is kind of like looking at your sculpture at different angles and changing your viewpoint to kind of make sure you're not missing something.
Exactly, but like I have a horrible example for it, like, and forgive me, but like when you meet someone for the first time, let's say, is either very handsome or it goes the other way, and let's say it's looking really bad. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so like the first few times you meet this person, you will always like absorb and like try to, and then after you kind of get to know him and you're already accustomed to his features and stuff like that, like the most handsome person will look like more normal because you kind of got used to it,
Mm.
and it goes the same way to the other side.
Right,
like
right.
like so basically, like when you look at something again and again and again, like your eye basically it gets used to what it's seeing, and you don't see even like the mistakes. Like sometimes I flip like sketches, and I'm actually horrified, like the things that I can miss when I'm drawing and not flipping the sketch. Okay, I think like this one is kind of starting to look like more what I had in mind. And so let's take it one step further. And right now I will kind of try to work the line a little bit like more carefully. Not like super final line art, but just a bit more carefully to be a little bit more readable, and then we throw on some colors. So something I did in the second sketch, which I like, is like a smaller nose. So I changed it.
You guys have a cat?
Yeah, actually, actually, I have a few.
Nice, nice. I could hear a ram in the background.
Yeah, we have 4 cats. We have four
Ah,
cats.
man.
Yeah.
I haven't had cats since I was a kid. I have a dog now, and I do miss the presence of a cat.
So every time someone hears that I have 4 cats, then he kind of thinks that I'm a cat person.
Mm.
Uh, and I have nothing against cats, but it's more that like my kids, especially my daughter, she just want to adapt every cat she sees.
Yeah, yeah.
And
You
so
gotta keep the kids happy, you know.
yeah. So we end up somehow with 4 cats.
Well, that's got to be fun. Hopefully, you don't have. I have my problem is I have allergies, so I can't like the animals that shed. It messes me up.
Yeah. So actually, I'm not sure that like I have like real allergy, but like sometimes my eyes would get a little bit itchy, and what I just like I try to do is like every time if I touch them or pet them, I just like wash my hands after that.
Oh man, I've had insane allergies since I was a little kid, and I've just developed that habit as well. It's like if I touch and I love to like play with dogs, play with cats, like pet and touch, but I'm just constantly washing my hands like immediately afterwards. It's a tick now. I can't help it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I totally understand. But like think about it. Like if you were outside and you were like touching the ground for some reason, like you would probably go and wash your hands. Like just like you go
Yeah.
outside and you put your both of your hands like on the I don't know concrete or whatever.
Yeah.
You will wash your hands after that. And if
Yeah.
you're thinking about like pets where they like rolling on the ground and like do different crazy shit.
Yeah, for sure. When I was maybe 5, 6 years old, I went to an allergy specialist, and they do just like a little prick, like
Yeah.
on your back or somewhere, and it would like draw blood, and they would test. I don't know. They tested like 100 or 120 different items, and I was allergic to every single one of them. And, and I was like one of those kids that like loved to be outside. I mean, I spent all my time outside running around. I ride my bike across town, and I just get into stuff. And so I would just always be having allergic reactions, but not sacrificing my time outside. So I was basically paying for it. But I think because of it, I've developed these like obsessive habits of always cleaning, always washing my hands, like, and I can't stop doing it now. It's a weird addiction that I've
Yeah.
developed.
Did you know that like you can actually like develop new allergies like in every age.
Oh
So
yeah, yep.
yeah,
Go ahead.
so it's not like something you like born with or you don't and that's it. You can like you can eat something like all your life and suddenly develop an allergy to it, which is kind of insane.
Yeah, my aunt just randomly developed, like, she's probably in her 50s now, and developed some like strange allergies to like bananas or just weird things, and like that's kind of terrifying. That like for me, I've had a strong allergy to peanuts and tree nuts, and that's always been a thing in my life. And that's been a nightmare in itself. Developing new allergies to other things just sounds like man, that's not fair.
Let's flip it one more time and see how it looks. It's nice. So I'm thinking like of using like colors that will make him look more like he's like half dead or something. So right now I'm working like on a white background, and a white background like really affects the way you will see certain colors. So I'm taking it into consideration. I will make him like somewhat like this very pale bluish something. Let's see. I will actually grab my this is probably my favorite tool. Like the lasso brush.
It is super nice. I've seen just for reference, I've seen you do some really great. We actually have some video on our YouTube of you doing silhouette character design, spending a lot of time with this tool.
Right. Like it's one of my favorite tools, and like actually like back then, like when we talked about silhouettes, like for me actually starting to the work process, the designing process from a silhouette, it's one of my favorite things to do. um, so probably won't stay that blue, but right now um, I will wait until I add some more colors, and then I can compare between the different colors, and probably I create like this almost black shirt. Like right now I probably could use like even though I Popeye many times, like probably to take another look at his clothing is a good idea, but I'm not feeling that I have to stick and be like totally accurate.
How often do you ever? I don't know. Adobe Color offers a great tool for complementary colors. Try kind of going in and figuring. Do you do that, or do you kind of just have a good set list of colors in your mind?
So, first of all, I think that's actually a great question. So, first of all, I think like when you're starting to lay out some colors, you need to figure out first if you are about to use, like, let's say, the native color of the character of or a certain object, or if you are actually looking to have like a more like a certain mood and atmosphere using a specific color scheme. So usually when you're using like specific color schemes, what they do is like they create like this certain mood and atmosphere all like in the entire frame. um, Instead of like if you're using native colors, for people who doesn't know like what do I mean by native colors. Native colors is like the color you associate with something. So let's say if I say a banana, like imagine a banana, you're not only imagining yellow, you're imagining like a very specific yellow which you associate with a banana. Now if I'll take a banana and I'll take it like when the sunset, when the sun is setting, and I'll take a picture of the banana, and then I will try to pick like colors from the picture, I won't have like a probably one yellow pixel inside the picture. So that means we have like the native color, which is the associative color, where there's nothing affecting or changing the way it looks. So that's the first decision. And like a lot of times I can create a character and just use like native colors and not doing anything extraordinary. Usually, um, what I do when I'm creating like a character from scratch, I really like to use like the split complementary color scheme, which basically means you have two colors that are close to one another in the color wheel, and you have one color which is complementary to kind of the middle between those two colors. So let's say if I'm using green and blue, which are two neighbor colors, then the complementary will be like a reddish orange. Um, and I feel like the, this these color schemes, especially for creating clothing uniform, it's like very effective. It's like not scattered, and you're not using too many colors. You
Mm.
have two colors that work closely together, and one color that will give you the accent, the thing that you want to pop.
Yeah, that totally makes sense.
For this one, I'm just kind of winging it. Like
Yeah.
I'm not thinking like on a specific color scheme right now. But right now, while I'm doing what I'm doing, I'm kind of like figuring out that I suddenly realized that I actually can use like a split complementary scheme. So I might like adjust it a little bit. So I'm actually feeling like using black here. Okay, so like I laid out a few colors, which basically just like kind of blocks, uh, and then I can start like adjusting them and kind of make them like be a little bit to work together more nicely. So what I will do is like I will try to actually use kind of like this split complementary scheme, which means that I will pick basically three colors and I will use different version of those three hues. So let's imagine that I'm taking like a certain red. Let's say that this will be my red I'm putting here. And I have a certain blue. I don't mind using this blue. And I'm using like a neighbor color, which would be like this turquoise. Now, what I will do is I'm actually using those three colors, but I will kind of like those three hues, but I will kind of get more colors out of those three hues. So what I'm doing is like if I'm using this red, that means that I will use this red, but I will can go anywhere like and play around with the amount of brightness and the amount of saturation. So that will actually give me like more freedom. So let's say that for the color, let's so so do I have the options of actually locking like the alpha, locking the transparent pixels?
You should be able to. Does it allow you to when you go up to the opacity?
Hmm, let's see.
You can lock.
Okay. Lock
Yeah.
opacity. Yeah. For a second, I forgot where it was. So basically, I will change this red, but like let's say I'm picking this color, but I feel like that I want something that is less saturated and a little bit darker. So I will change it to this one. It's still the same hue. And also, like let's say I want the shirt to be like almost black, but I'm still picking this red, just like really desaturated and with low brightness. And then believe it or not, but like right now the shirt, let's make it even a little bit brighter. But right now the shirt and the color and the color are actually the same hue. So the amount of saturation is different and the amount of brightness is different, but it's the same hue. It's like the same hue in the color wheel. So actually, for the shirt, I used only one hue, different colors, but only one hue. Now, um, I'm thinking of making the pants just a tad darker. Let's try to see. Okay. So I'm feeling like the first colors were kind of too happy for me, and so I wanted to kind of like try to make it a little bit darker. And then I have like this turquoise, which I feel like I will probably get close to white and gray and make it even more pale than it is, uh, which I already kind of like. Um, let's throw like mm, a little bit of shade. I'm thinking of maybe giving like a slight color to the hat as well, just so it will stick out. Let's see if it's necessary. It's nice. So I won't have like a complete white, instead only the teeth. And I will probably pick a different color for the nails. just to make him stick out. Like that, and let's make maybe those buttons pop a little bit as well. And right now, maybe I'll throw some colors on his face, like a little bit of reddish here. So I'm thinking on actually creating like maybe very veiny and I think that eventually I would probably just throw like a layer on top and put some basic shading to it. So right now I don't think I will change anything else. So I kind of merge a few layers together and make it easier for me. So I'm having all the colors over one layer. Let's see how it looks. So right now I will put some shading on it, but I will say something that like when you start, like when you decide to create shade, I think you should pick between two choices. And I'm talking right now if you're drawing a character, not like an entire scene. So like the direction of the light source and the shade that it will cast can do different things. And like the way I look at it is either I'm going for mood and atmosphere, or either I'm going for shapes and sculpture. Like if I'm looking to like make all the little details and shapes and the overall shapes to like really read well, then I'll think which light source or which light direction will make all those shapes pop and like kind of differentiate between the different shapes. And if I'm looking for a certain mood, I can say maybe I will just put the light source from behind and have like a rim light, and all the character would be in shade. So it's important because sometimes those are two different things, and like maybe the mood you're looking for like requires a certain lighting, and sometimes you just want to present like the details of the character, and then you will go with something like more general. So right now what I'm thinking is like putting the light source directly from above or almost directly from above, and then it will be kind of a mix between those two. So it's always good if you're lighting a character, try to start with like the big shapes, the big cast shadows. Okay. So the head will probably cast a shadow here, and I will have like a small shadow under the nose and under the eyebrows. Probably make the nose shadow a bit small.
It so very quickly starts adding depth. Just this one layer alone.
Yeah, so like sometimes, like I used to do like a mistake, which now I see like many of my students do, which is very common. Like you want to like show details, and like it's very easy if you go like here to let's raise it a little. Like if you're going under like the chest, so it's very tempting to do this, like saying, okay, let's put like a quick shadow over the underneath the packs, and then I will put a quick shadow underneath like the rib cage and maybe the folds or the abs. And basically what you kind of like intuitively doing is like you want to get those details out. But here basically if the light source is coming from above and like his entire torso is leaning down and facing down,
Mm-hmm.
and it means that basically like his entire like
Right. And most
so
likely, the highlights, I would imagine, are where you can accentuate some of those additional details that might be coming from other light sources.
yeah. And also like in when you use like let's say like more of a cell shading style, then a lot of time when you kind of doing like this cell shading thing, you're using sometimes just two colors, like you have your like your natural color and your shade color. um, and then you're starting to think about different materials, like you will see like in a lot of like series and animations, like let's say a human skin or a character, like let's say the skin or different fabrics will get like two colors, like one for the light, one for the shade. But like metal will get like additional color to get basically the highlights. And that this is how you differentiate like between different materials in these specific styles. Sometimes if you're doing the same process, like let's say I'm adding a highlight on this character, then if I'm creating metal, might not look even like metal sometimes, because you kind of like treat it the same as you did for the character. So it's like really depends on what you're planning to do. I kind of feel like that for this character, like actually coloring the line will make the line art like look a little bit softer and nicer, which I like. So when I do that, I basically take like if I'm want to color the line of the pants, I will grab a color that is just a little bit darker, a bit darker than the shade color, so I could still see it like in the areas that I shaded, but it's immediately like makes the line a little bit softer instead of like this harsh black line.
This is a really great pro tip for anybody watching. Having your line art on its own layer and using layer opacity locked gives you the option to quickly change colors. And the fact that you're doing it manually, I think is really interesting too, is that you could leave some portions of that line black and colorize it
Exactly,
black.
exactly. And not only that, like let's say you have a transition, you have like this kind of gradient or transition in a certain area, and then what you can do is you can actually have this gradient go on the line as well. So I can, let's say that like I want in this shirt, I feel like that in the light area this color is perfect and it's like dark enough, but in the shade area I feel like it's not dark enough, so I can actually make it a bit darker in the shade and a bit lighter in the light. And let's say here I grab like this purplish um, shade color, and then I will work on the line on the light area and make everything like brighter. And I already know that I would want to make like let's say the line, the shade area darker, and also the line around the fingernails, make it a little bit darker. So you kind of have like this control, and it's like very comfortable.
That's a great little tip. It's not even little. That's a powerful bit of detail that I think could very easily be overlooked.
So let's say right now I will take like a little bit darker color, and then like here in the jaw, I want to make the jaw pop a little bit. So I'll make this a bit darker, nose, like everything that is in shade, and I want to like really stick out. And also like in the hand, I can take like this bottom part, which is in shade. And actually for the fingernails, I would probably get darker version of the color I used on the fingernails. Like it would look like its own separate thing. Let's speak. So I haven't like did any shading for the collar, because like it's all like facing up and kind of looks like it would be sort of lit. Um, and you can also try to do a mix of using like this cell shading style, but still using like very subtle gradients inside of it. So then you kind of get like the best of both worlds. So that's already looks like way softer. Like you still get the feeling of the line art and the line being there, but it's like it feels like way softer. And like for the hat, which I use like I colored like almost white, I would just grab like maybe a bluish, very like soft line to it, and like where it meets the head right here, like the line almost disappears. So here I can grab like a darker color just to get it out of the way. I want the this eye patch to stay black. So yeah, altogether, I think like for like a quick sketch, like a quick color sketch, I kind of like the way it turned out.
It looks spectacular. It really does. And I didn't want to be talking too much while you were going through this, but yeah, and having seen your work and seeing your portfolio, I see a tremendous amount of painting and shading and the blending between shading that you have in a lot of your pieces that, as you kind of mentioned earlier, sometimes the scene and the setting defines how you're going to approach the level of detail when it comes to that stuff. But um, just even knocking back some of the black outline already starts to make it feel primed and ready for that next level of shading that would come if you wanted to take it to a more three-dimensional
Hmm.
place.
hmm So for me, when I try to render something to make it look 3D, like I don't leave the lines in the drawing most of the time. Like usually I will just lower the opacity of my sketch to like 10%, like really look at it, and will just like start like rendering the shapes and the details. And like I feel I see like a lot of methods where you kind of blending the lines into the drawing and drawing on top of them and different things. It's all good as long as the result is what you're looking for. But like for me, I feel, why do I need to like work on blending the lines or covering the lines if I can just switch the layer off and get rid of the line? So for me, maybe maybe next time we'll try to render something to make it more like look more 3D. Like for me, for the longest time, like I remember like when I was younger, like I was really fascinated with cartoons and comic and like superheroes and stuff like that. And all of my drawing were like more comic style, cartoon style drawings. And then I met an artist which I admire, is a good friend of mine today, and like I saw like he's like he renders stuff like an AI, uh, and then I saw like the way he renders stuff, and for the longest time, like all I wanted to do is like I thought like, oh man, if I just knew how to render, and I wanted to render like to make everything look 3D and stuff like that. And then after a while, you're looking at your work and you see like things that are rendered nicely, but they are lacking in the design. They are lacking in the way you you convey ideas and different shapes. And then you all of a sudden you go back to sketching, and you realize, okay, the next level is not in the way I render. It's actually the next level is like in the sketch, and like putting something more interesting out there to render.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah,
No, I think that's interesting. It's like you think about it, I'm sure that there's a reason for this in the English language at least. But when I think about designing a character, but a character can have character. Like character is sort of like an attribute as much as it is, an adjective or a thing. So when you think about the design, I do think about that as like, it kind of goes back to some of the lessons that you've been presenting and sharing in previous lectures that we've done throughout this series, and that um, you know design is everything, and just getting to a final realistic version is not always really valuable. You might end up wasting a lot of time. So what I love to see how this plays out is like, even in an hour and a half, you've gotten to this point, and sure, it doesn't have all of the photorealistic aspects, but it has great texturing and subtle little details that are loose and sketchy. And to me, that has more character than something that's perfectly photorealistic. So I guess each of us has to develop our own desire or understanding of what it is that we like to do. And as I look at all of our contributors that join the Canvas and Magma Classroom, we've got different versions of that. And some folks that have been joining us regularly, I've seen have their own style and their own like way of seeking to finish something on Canvas. And it's so great to see such diversity. And on your side, I see very much you have just a wide range of abilities to be able to get there. It's just a matter of figuring out what you want to do in the moment, and that's so much fun to watch.
yeah. Actually, that's most of the time the hardest part. Like, I feel like that actually liking like the idea, or having a clear idea. Like on the previous stream, we talked about I told you about my friend. Actually, it's the same friend that said the hardest like part in the drawing I do the night before, where when I go to sleep.
Yes, that's a great line.
Yeah, and that actually changed a lot for me. Like, actually sit for a while, figure out what you want to do. I feel like that sometimes like people, they're actually looking for the ideas while they're doodling and sketching, and they are thinking like, maybe I will sketch, and while I'm sketching I will come up with something interesting, and that might happen. But sometimes actually not doing anything and not looking on anything, like just like thinking, like being in your own head, and like starting to ask questions. What do I want to do? What do I want this character to convey? Why do I want it to look a certain way? Or and I feel like that's like where the magic happens.
Hmm.
Like, I feel like like for me, the drawing that I liked the most, you I think like most of them, I really knew what I was about to create, what I was about to do. There were no like random decisions while creating. It was actually like you have like an idea in your mind, and
Hmm.
you print. You're becoming the printer of your imagination.
Right.
And yeah,
That really is that aspect of, I guess, being able to be actionable about things. To me, is you're tapping into a wavelength that it transcends art. That's something that goes into literally everything. Cutting hair, mathematics, like driving a car. Like, it depends on the level of involvement required to achieve the thing that you're doing. And I think that's where there's a variation in like how complex that system works, but it's the same with everything. And that you have to be clear and open minded to really see, and not with your eyes, to see with your mind. That's the third eye, which really is truly it's a window into a whole world of possibilities that it does take patience and cannot be just forced into submission. You kind of have to just flow with it, right?
yeah. And also I think that a lot of time, like I will be the one like most like to have like this like crouch, like I think like sometimes like the concept, the idea, it's asking for things, and sometimes you as an artist, you like different things. Like you have like a certain aesthetics that you like, you have a certain style that you like, you are inspired by certain things, but sometimes the idea for itself, for what it is, it's actually asking to be something different. Um, and then you stand in your own way. You're like making your habits and your like patterns of working and thinking like get in your own way.
Mm.
And like I think like sometimes if you think like how something would look if someone else did it, like instead of thinking like what I want to create, like I used to think like how would this character look if this and this would create, uh, and that question alone like made me come up with something that I probably wouldn't come up with if I were thinking about me creating the character.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It sounds like, because maybe this is a repeated conversation with like maybe additional thoughts. This is something that I feel like we've talked about a lot, but it makes me think about the aspect of developing a character. Is like there's a recipe to make the character. There are guidelines and rules, proportions and angle and all these other things that are structurally there, but to really solve the not the problem, but to really develop this idea authentically, you have to ask all the right questions. You have to be willing to ask the questions. Is like, what am I doing? And what about this character needs to be fulfilled? And start seeking to like ask questions that give you problems to solve, as opposed to I'm just gonna make Popeye, Vampire Popeye, in the style of such and such artist, or just following the Marvel way. It's like that doesn't have authenticity. That's just doing a thing according to some other recipe. And that you can develop your own recipe every time if you maybe ask a few unique questions throughout the process, like what can I do that I haven't done before? What about this character or this idea would present a new challenge or a new thing? Like what about the character's life or experiences? Like asking more questions about backstory or fill in the blank could present all kinds of possibilities that give you a chance to evolve and flow through it and come up with new things and challenge yourself.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree. And I think like it's also a way to keep things more like fun and like fresh. Uh, like we just talked about it before we went live, right? So like try to stay fresh and creating like new things and having like new inspiration. And yeah,
Yeah, I think those are good words to finish on. Stay curious, keep pushing. Thank you guys for contributing to all these canvases. Thank you, Udi, for such a great walkthrough and a free flow design session. This is awesome. Next week or a couple weeks from now, we'll come back and yeah, if you want to go through shading or if you want to try, we could do we could call it Magma mashups, where you just pick two random themes and just come up with something and see how it goes.
I like it. I
Good.
like it.
Cool. Well, thank you guys for contributing to these canvases. The work looked really awesome, and appreciate all of you guys. And thank you, Udi.
Thanks, man. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, you too. Cheers, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Cheers.